what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
It's Thursday. We're back. Unity Live at GDC, and I'm in no way hungover. Liz, how about you?
How many Jaws-Mopolitans did you have?
I had none.
Jaws Mojitos? No, it was Jaws-Mopolitans, wasn't it?
It was Jaws-Mopolitans.
It was Jaws-Mopolitans. I mean, oh my god, that VR DJ set. What on earth? That was insane.
An excellent time was had. But if you weren't there because you're watching on the internet, which is very probable, then we're sorry you missed out. It was a great time. We had a great show yesterday, which you can catch up and watch online as well. We spoke to the guys who are making Drone, we spoke to the developers of Faye, and we spoke to Euphoria and NBC Universal. So go back and check that out. And we've got some great guests today as well.
Including Campo Santo. Who are going to be,
excited.
we're both really excited about this, who are going to be talking to us about In the Valley of Gods. So very excited.
So stay tuned,
Yeah.
and we'll kick off with our first guest in just a moment. Next up on Unity Live at GDC, we're talking machine learning agents. We are back with Unity Live at GDC, and we're here with Jeff from our own Unity team talking about machine learning. Jeff, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Hey, Joe.
Hello.
So, I mean, I'm a total noob with machine learning. I've seen 4, maybe 5 Terminator films. Does that really put me in any good stead, or should I start learning from scratch?
Well, definitely we're not trying to get into the any kind of Terminator world. I just want to assure the audience that that's definitely the case.
Okay.
But what ML Agents is, what we try to do is bridge the world between machine learning and Unity. So for game developers, if you want to put machine learning into your game, and you're not really a machine learning expert, we want to help you with that.
Yeah.
On the other side, we have a whole machine learning community. These are researchers, engineers, hobbyists, who also want to leverage all the great stuff about Unity, all the great simulation capabilities, and all the great features. So our aim is really to kind of bridge those both worlds, and that's what ML Agents is, an open source toolkit for us to do that.
So, like, taking a big step back, just because, I'm sure there probably are a lot of people who are just as dumb as me, no offense, everybody, who don't really understand, like, the benefit of machine learning and what it gives you. Can you kind of break that down a little bit?
Good question.
Yes. So one of the benefits of machine learning is that, and this is kind of what we've released with ML Agents as the latest version, is that you can actually train the machines to do certain things. So in our first beta release, what we introduced is reinforcement learning. So agents can actually, play against themselves, and then single agent training. And we also include a few environments for folks to kind of play around with. The second one, in our second beta release, we introduced this concept called curriculum learning. And so if you think about what curriculum learning is, there's a lot of very difficult aspects of machine learning to learn. And so what curriculum learning is that if you think about how we learn, let's say in grade school, you learn arithmetic first before you learn algebra. Same way you learn algebra before you learn calculus. And so the way machines learn is actually in the same way we learn. We kind of provide the scaffolding to do more advanced topics. And kind of come back to the benefit for kind of gamers, in our newest version, we released what we call imitation learning. Mm-hmm. And so instead of having to code all these kind of behaviors and such, the machines actually just learn how to play a game just based on how the humans play.
Okay, I think we've actually got a clip of that. So
we actually do, yeah.
Let's take a look at it, and then you can tell us a bit about what we're seeing.
So what you're seeing on the right, the machine, it's kind of driving. It's really not knowing. It's just crashing into the wall. It's crashing, and it doesn't really know what it's doing. It's kind of trying to learn, but as you can see, it's really not. Really kind of figuring it out.
So is it learning by mistakes right now?
It's actually learning from the human, so it's taking a little time. So actually in about 5 seconds, the machine on the right is actually, you can see it's actually pretty good. And so actually now that you see, it'll actually make the turn without crashing. And so even just 25 seconds of watching the human play, the machine now knows how to actually play the game. Now this is the game after 5 minutes of training, and as you can see, it's perfectly learned the game. It's running through it. It's not going to crash. Now, if the human started to crash, it would actually try to mimic that behavior as well.
Oh, really?
And so this is the kind of stuff we're shipping with ML Agents.
So is that the kind of thing where in the kind of game that was, so that's Anti-Graviator from Cybernetic Walrus.
Yes, we'd like to thank our friends at Cybernetic Walrus for letting use those assets.
Yeah, super cool game coming soon. And I think that when you see that in action, like you're seeing the kind of training situation there. To me, the benefit is that you are, training. I mean, I don't want to phrase it wrongly. Am I training an AI there, or am I giving it simple, rules that it's going to follow? Like,
well, that's so instead of writing all the rules and trying to code the machine to make the turns, it actually can just learn from the behavior. So in some ways, you are training the AI, but not in the traditional way of having to write a lot of predetermined behavior with the code.
Oh, okay, super cool.
So for our developers then, so if we go back to our first version release of machine learning, which was reinforcement learning, where, and please jump in and correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely.
Is where you train the agent by either giving them a reward or punishing them for a certain...
That's correct, yeah. So as opposed to just coding the behavior, you can define the reward and the state at which the agent lives, and it kind of figures out the most optimal behavior. Okay. So it's kind of like how humans behave. If there is a hot stove, you put your hand on it, you're never gonna do it again. Yeah. So in a similar vein, that's how the concept of reinforcement learning and ML agents is based on that as well.
And then there's imitation learning as well, that's in our latest version, version 3. So as a developer who's going in and saying, I think it would be great to have machine learning in my game, what have you seen from the community the most used types of learning, and for what scenarios?
A lot of this is fairly new, so there's just a lot of different things that we're kind of exploring. With imitation learning versus what we shipped in the first version of reinforcement, you don't only need to train, for hours the agents to do a certain behavior. You can actually just play your game for, as you saw in Anti-Gravity, for just 25 seconds, and it really starts to understand. And you can just kind of imagine some of the applications that from both game development as well as researchers in the machine learning community can use for it.
And so where can we get started with this? Where should we?
So we actually on GitHub, we GitHub/Unity Technology /ML Agents. We're one of the top AI projects on GitHub. So please check us out. Send us some comments, some issues. We would love to hear from you.
And so is there like you're kind of growing community within our community around that? Like,
absolutely.
Are there forums, or like how can people interact with one another?
Yeah, definitely in the GitHub forums. We have our Unity Connect channels. Definitely a lot of places to reach out to us on social media. And again, our aim is to really bridge the world of game development and machine learning.
Cool. And if people are lucky enough to be here at GDC, can they come and talk to us about machine learning?
Yes, we'll be at Unity. At the Unity offices. We have some labs as well as some talks as well.
Awesome.
That's fantastic. So that's Unity Central. You can just go online and sign up, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, brilliant.
Cool. So 33rd Street for Unity Central. That's our office. So go check it out. Jeff, thanks so much for coming in and telling us about machine learning.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Next up on Unity Live at GDC, Jessica Lindl is here to talk Unity education.
Hello, and welcome back to Unity Live at GDC. Will and I are joined by Jessica, who's the Global Head of Education here at Unity. So thank you so much for joining us, Jessica.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome to have you here. So please, tell us about Unity education and training and what you guys and girls do.
Absolutely. So our whole purpose is to enable all of our creators and their success, whether it's just an aspiration to be creating what you've always imagined or a professional career, or you're just starting out trying to learn programming or computer skills.
And so what resources are available for those learners at all those different stages to get started?
So we're so lucky at Unity because it's all driven by a learner's motivation and passion for what they want to create. Dissimilar to other companies where you could become a Salesforce admin, we use that motivation to fuel you throughout your entire lifetime journey. So the resources can be anything from free tutorials that we have, projects where you can build an incredibly high quality game with us as you're starting to learn, all the way to advanced courses, certifications, in-person training, workshops. We've got you covered.
Cool. So there might be, there's probably quite a lot of people who are watching this who are really, really at that kind of beginner level, who are just getting started with Unity. What is the first thing that they should try and do?
So, Will, you've had a lot of experience in
Yes.
this over
And I'm prompting you to tell me.
over the last few years. We're picking up an incredible foundation you've laid for us. So thank you so much for
No
that.
worries.
So some of the great things that you've already created in editor tutorials. You open up Unity and you are handheld all the way through your beginner experience. As well as 2D projects. We're coming out with a 3D project that you can be creating.
Oh, the game kits.
The game
Yeah.
kits,
Yes.
exactly. Those
Super
are
cool.
phenomenal. And again, all the way to courses that aren't just about game design and game development, but actually moving into automotive and the other verticals that we're going after.
Cool. So am I right in thinking that if you are someone who's a programmer or an artist or an animator, there are kind of paths that you could, or pieces of content that are more appropriate for you on the site?
That's right. So we've got tracks based on what your role is. We also have tracks if you just want to tinker.
Yeah.
You're just casually browsing around and you want help. And again, not just for beginners, also advanced levels, not just for gaming, for other verticals too.
Cool. And what about those people who are already started but are feeling like, I can prototype some stuff, but I kind of want to actually get into architecting, making my game more of a kind of a hardcore thing, and they want to have like a structured training course. What do we offer in that regard?
So our model has been that there are amazing courses that have already existed globally from lots of different providers like Udacity and Udemy and Coursera and Pluralsight.
Pluralsight, yeah, of
So
course.
we've partnered with the best courseware providers, learning providers globally, also localized in key languages. So you can get on that learning journey. Our approach is how to embrace and enable the learning ecosystem, not just about Unity creating those experiences, but really bringing all of the great teachers out there into our ecosystem.
Cool. Is there any like specific course you want to call out, you want to talk about?
So
Or-
we love the game dev course,
Okay.
which is right on Unity, the Unity game dev course. We've partnered with Pluralsight on that. You
Okay.
start off just learning the fundamentals of Unity and gaming and game design. You move into art, and then we've got future courses coming out around monetization and how to really enable your own success and the success of your company if you have one.
And so that one, I think that one includes like Maya and some other packages as well in that kind of ecosystem. So you're not just learning just to code or something, for example.
That's right, exactly. Integrating assets and importing assets and
Sweet.
everything you'd need to do to create a knockout game.
So, I mean, that's something that's out now. Like, what are we doing for education like the next year, 2 years? What kind of stuff should people expect to see rolling out?
So we have a ton coming out. We've basically moved from 1 or 2 courses, 1 certification to, we'll have over 20 courses by the end of this year. We'll have tons of free tutorials, free projects that you can also get your hands on, going from 1 to 6 certifications. So if you really want to show and demonstrate your success to the community, we've got expert certifications for programming and for artists. And then the most important part for us is that this is all embracing the community. So if you've got your profile on Connect and you can put up everything you've created on Connect, you can get feedback from the community. Our learning approach is really project-based and peer supported.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that you're getting immediate feedback to improve and to keep you motivated along the way.
Yeah.
Let's
Sorry.
talk- Sorry, no, carry on.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I think that, I hear from a lot of, especially young people all the time who are asking about, what do I do to start learning Unity? And I think that one of the things that I try and encourage them is, just make something,
Yeah.
and then make the next thing, and then make the next thing. But one of the other things that you brought up there is this idea of like peer review. And I think like being open to feedback and having a platform in Connect and our forums and all these other places is really useful. And I think that that's something that, if any of you out there are watching who are learning Unity, then, do join the community and feel free to post those things and your questions. Don't feel afraid to ask any questions, I would say. But yeah, I just wanted to really highlight that whole peer review
Yeah,
thing, because I think that's really
absolutely.
important. Liz?
Yeah, I wanted to ask more about the certifications because you briefly mentioned them, but so like what are they? What do they mean to the developers, and where can they find out more about them?
Sure. So this year, we've got a few certifications in the market already, but in the next few months, we'll have 6 total. So if you're just starting out high school, vocational ed programs, we've got a certification that marks that you've understood how to use Unity. As you grow into your career and you begin your professional career, we've got 2 professional certifications, a developer and an artist. And after you've spent about 4 or 5 years in your career and you really want to demonstrate your success, we have 3 expert certifications, 2 technical artist certifications, and 1 programmer certification.
Okay,
That's
so
fantastic.
kind of as a path, you've kind of got all the free resources. You've then got the Pluralsight game dev course, and as someone who's kind of like breaking in, doing a bunch of prototypes and things like that, you can kind of then level your way up through those certifications and then sort of display to industry, put it on your LinkedIn or wherever you advertise yourself. You can kind of signpost where you've got to.
That's right,
Cool.
exactly. And then don't forget about XR. So we've got an amazing course in the market already with
yeah?
Udacity.
Cool.
And we've got a great set of courses coming out with Coursera for both VR and AR
Okay,
integrated
nice.
into the course.
Cool.
And so what about maybe like studios who are onboarding, or they've just had a lot of new staff? Do we offer any training for...
Like in-house? kind of
Yeah, like in-house kind of...
Yeah, so we've got in-house training on about 20 different topics, as well as custom training
20
that we
topics,
can
okay.
provide. Yep, you
Amazing.
guys know we have an amazing roadmap that
Yeah, we're
we've
just
heard
pretending
about.
we don't know. Yeah. This is working so well.
This is education.
We just heard about our incredible roadmap in our keynote. So all of that is being covered in in-person training.
Yep.
If you can't make it in person or don't want somebody to come out to your site, we also provide live virtual training.
Oh, really?
That
Okay.
you can go ahead and
I
take.
genuinely didn't know that one.
Every day's a school day.
Yep, that's kicking off in April.
That's fantastic.
Awesome.
That's
Okay.
brilliant. Well,
So, I mean, if people are watching, they want to kickstart this whole thing, unity3d.com/learn. Is that
That's
the best
right,
place?
unity3d.com/learn.
Awesome.
It's all there for you.
Cool. And your team are around for those of us who are here at GDC, if they're here today.
Yep,
They want to come down and have a chat.
Exactly. So we've got lots of different sessions where you can just see what it's like to have live training in person, as well as different opportunities for you guys to experience courses and see the certifications.
Cool. And I think we'll probably be recording a lot of those as well. So for people who missed it, they'll be able to watch it after the fact.
yeah.
Great.
So
Sounds
the
good.
taster workshops for the training are going to be at Unity Central.
That's right.
That's right. And then, as you said, so we're going to be live streaming them to the Lounge and Unity Mix.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So you've got no excuse.
No
but to
excuse.
learn
excuse.
Unity.
We're everywhere
Educated.
for you.
Jessica, always
Thank you
great to see
guys
you.
so much.
It's
Thanks
been
for coming.
Really
awesome to have
appreciate
you.
it.
Wicked.
Talk
Thank
soon.
you.
Next up on Unity Live at GDC, we're talking to Coatsink about developing They Suspect Nothing for Oculus Go.
Hello, and welcome to Unity Live at GDC. Will and I are joined here by John from
Hello.
Coatsink. Thank you for joining
John.
us.
Hi.
How you doing?
So, John, you're here to talk about They Suspect Nothing, developed for the Oculus Go.
Absolutely, yes.
So please tell us more about They Suspect Nothing. It's a great idea. I can't wait to play it.
So, yeah, They Suspect Nothing is a collection of comedic mini-games for the Oculus Go, in which you play the last human in a world controlled by robots, and you need to prove your mettle by disguising yourself as one of them and completing a series of human detection tests. Yeah, it's a great idea. Didn't actually think of it myself. That was the that was one of the heads of the studio, and kind of landed on my desk, and I was like, "That is a brilliant title, a brilliant premise. Let's go." So that was about 7 months ago, and here we are. So
I was reading about this, that actually each of the mini games in They Suspect Nothing was it an internal game jam? Am I right in that, to find all the...
yeah. So in total, I think we had about maybe prototype 25 different games.
That's
wow.
amazing.
So at the very start of the project, we created a pool of about 50 ideas, and they all had to fit these categories of being funny, being simple, being kind of great to showcase VR,
Yeah.
being replayable as well.
Oh, cool.
And from those 50, we elected 25, not all at once, but over the course of several weeks. We would jam like 3 or 4 at once over the course of 3 days, sit down at the end and kind of review what we've got, and kind of elect 1 or 2 from each of this process to kind of proceed into full development, which is, yeah, it's a really unusual way of making one video game.
What
So
a fun process. That
Yes.
sounds absolutely great.
it's very tiring from the coders, I hear.
But do you think that it's really interesting as a process? Like, are you going to take that on for other projects as well? Or?
Well, if we do more kind of mini-game collections, then I would imagine so. But it's a pretty exhausting way to kind of go about creating loads of content.
Yeah.
For instance, for our previous game, Augmented Empire, there was just one prototype that showcased all the main kind of gameplay systems,
Right.
exploration, combat, and things like that. But yeah, it works well for when you're creating a lot of different experiences, I suppose. But
Okay.
yeah, it's like I said, it's lengthy. A lot of production strain as well. It's kind of like the development of They Suspect Nothing was an absolute masterclass in kind of scheduling and timing
Right.
things and everything.
I was going to say, like having 3 days to like turn around like prototype sounds pretty intense.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Cool. And so you guys are working with Oculus Studios. Obviously, the Oculus Go thing is pretty new.
Yes.
What's it like as a platform? I don't really know that much about it.
The Oculus Go, yeah, it's personally I intend to get one. It's I guess it's kind of immediately comparable to maybe the Gear VR, except with improved tracking and optics.
Cool.
I don't know too much about the actual technical specs, but I do know it's got obviously a standalone piece of equipment, affordable, just a really good entertainment platform all around. And
Cool.
Yeah, kind of look forward to its release on a personal level.
Yeah, no, I mean, I am as well, because I think, like, I've had a Gear VR in the past, but I just find that, for whatever reason, I don't use it. I don't put my phone in it, and I've just never kind of gotten it. But the idea of the Oculus Go really feels like something that you just have as a standalone thing. And you'd be like, I'm going to play this now, and then, kind of go about your business. Did you work with Oculus on this? Is that right?
Yes, and many projects in the past.
Oh, okay.
They're basically the production house behind our last kind of 4 VR titles, I think. So it started with Esper, the first one, which was a launch title for the Gear VR. Then its sequel the following year, Esper 2. And since, I think off the back of Esper 2, we did Augmented Empire, which is when I joined the company.
Okay, cool.
Followed by A Night Sky, and yeah, this will be our 5th title.
Okay.
And they're really, really good kind of production company to work with. They're not like overlords kind of controlling the purse strings or anything. They're more like a helping hand and help with development support and just really understanding when it comes to things like project scope and features and quickly turning around things without making kind of crazy demands on the studio. It's a pleasure.
Okay,
And
cool.
so with virtual reality not being a stranger to Coatsink, what learnings have you taken forward to make They Suspect Nothing?
So, if I compare it kind of immediately to my experience making Augmented Empire, our last game, I kind of put in the lots of groundwork creating the world, the characters, and the story for that, and then gave all that to the art team and the design team to kind of build everything from. But with They Suspect Nothing, it was kind of the reverse. We created all these games, and we had this format and structure set, and I had to kind of glomp story and character and jokes on top of it. So, in many respects, it was kind of the reverse process to actually create an Augmented Empire. I've called it narrative wrangling in the past rather than narrative design. You kind of take what's been created and just kind of make it work.
The narrative shoehorn.
Yeah, but it affords a lot of kind of more creative control from like the artists and the designers to put their input on the characters and environments and just kind of create their own assets, if you like, their own world, and I just kind of make it cohesive and just sprinkle on jokes. It was great fun.
Super cool.
So the narrative process, when sort of applied to virtual reality, what advice could you give developers out there that are wanting to make a narrative-driven virtual reality experience?
Wow. I guess I could just kind of repeat my experience from like creating Augmented Empire, just put in all the groundwork because you really have to kind of focus on lots of details. It was something that people really praised Augmented Empire for, and hopefully when they get their hands on They Suspect Nothing, just all these environmental details, everything means something because you're that close to all the action. There's 3 hubs plus an extra kind of hub in They Suspect Nothing, and you can look obviously in every direction. You've got characters bobbing around and doing things. And I really went out of my way just to put like every time you interact with even the wallpaper, something will be said about it. There'll be a joke or something to discover.
That's
so
nice.
yeah, my main piece of advice would be just to focus on the details more than anything, on the really fine things, because that's what I think gamers appreciate the most. Just that sense of discovery, especially in VR.
It's really interesting. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like the early adventure game days as well, when you went from having like, very simple arcadey type games to then things like, LucasArts games and that kind of area of things where they would hide so much narrative detail and like world building in all kinds of different things.
Yeah, I was an absolutely massive fan of Simon the Sorcerer and Monkey Island and all the LucasArts stuff, and I know exactly what you mean there.
Cool.
Just clicking on the right thing, with the interacting it with a particular object, just kind of produces some kind of very crazy, funny joke.
Yeah.
I'm doing a talk and referenced Stanley Parable just as an example, as a game where you kind of the sense of discovery is really what drives the gameplay and the comedy behind it.
Yeah.
I don't kind of meet jokes as roadblocks in the way you have to go out of your way to discover them. And I think it's that sense of discovery that I think is going to be a major USP for this one.
Cool. And is the game out yet? Is it
No. It will be launched along with the Oculus Go. We're putting out a press release either this week or next with all the details confirming price. And launch.
Where should people look for that?
Probably the Oculus Facebook.
Okay.
Cool. It'll be very easily Googleable as well.
Okay. Awesome.
Launch date, they suspect nothing.
And
That's so exciting.
I'm not sure if you can answer this, but I'm curious. Are you guys going to carry on working with Oculus Studios? Have you got other projects in the pipe?
Long term, we'll always be kind of supporting VR.
Okay.
Obviously, can't give any details on future projects, but needless to say, we'll definitely be supporting VR long term now.
Awesome.
And where are you at GDC?
Great.
I believe we're in the. I'm not sure if it's the north or the south. The main exhibit hall.
Yeah.
You
In
absolutely
Moscone,
can't
yeah.
miss us. I know we're between Facebook and Sony America, so I think we've got one of the biggest stalls.
So people can come and try out.
Please do.
They
Yeah,
suspect nothing.
absolutely.
Fantastic.
Cool. Well,
Well,
thanks so much
thank
for
you
coming
so
and
much for
telling us.
joining
No
us.
problem at all. Thank you
Great
very
to
much
have you.
indeed. Really
Nice to
appreciate
meet you,
it.
man.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much.
Thanks.
Next up on Unity Live at GDC, we're talking to the legendary developers of Firewatch, Campo, Santo about In the Valley of Gods. We are back at Unity Live at GDC, and we're talking to Chris and Sean from Campo Santo. Thank you so much for being here, guys.
Thanks for having us. Happy to be here.
Cool.
I'll wave.
Yeah, we've done a lot of awkward cross-shaking
Yeah, we've
already.
had a lot of.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I just sit back and wave now.
That's fine. That's safe.
So, guys, super excited to meet you both. It's really nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Legendary developers of Firewatch, of course. If you guys haven't played Firewatch, go and play Firewatch.
Legendary. Legendary.
Yeah, I
Stuff
thought about
of legend.
illustrious, and then I thought,
That's a
it's
lovely
little bit
word.
I
weird.
much prefer legendary.
Yeah.
Legendary and illustrious.
Sure.
It's
We've
glad
been
that you
really
saw
excited.
the contract that we give everyone before we do any press, where you must call us legendary
Yeah.
or
Adjective, no list.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we call it the legend writer. It's
Oh, okay.
affixed to all
Yeah. We have a good lawyer.
that.
Keeps it
media
in there.
appearances.
It's very, very particular. So we're not really here to talk about Firewatch. We're here to talk about your new game, In the Valley of Gods. I don't really know where to start. I think the best thing to do is probably watch the trailer, because if you haven't seen the trailer, then you should. So let's have a look at
It's
the trailer
legendary.
right
It's a legendary trailer.
now. The legendary trailer.
We are kneeling at the river's edge and tempting all the steps to follow closer right behind. Is it only when you feel the pot is empty that it's gnawing at the corners of your mind? Oh, I will ask you for mercy. I will come to you blind. What you'll see is the worst me, not the last of my kind. Hold me down, hold me now, sold me out. In the muddy waters we're falling.
So I don't really know where to start because
I
there's
thought
so
you
much
did a
to
wonderful
take in.
job singing that song, by the way, Chris.
Yeah.
Chris does a lot of our music
was
composition.
very
He really hit
unexpected.
all the high notes, I thought, in a really, really wonderful
I had,
way.
I had a legendary voice coach.
That is a genuine question though. Like I know you do a lot of the music at the studio.
Yeah, that was licensed, obviously.
was.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a woman named LP. Track is called Muddy Waters. And she's awesome. And yeah, just a wonderful performer and artist and songwriter, and probably written songs for acts you know. And she actually just did a tour on the West Coast that a bunch of the people at the studio went and saw at the
cool.
Independent. And yeah, let us use the track, and it's
Sweet.
awesome.
Yeah.
Although there's also a cool story behind the other music in that trailer, which was actually legit. So the music that opens the trailer, which is this very sweeping kind of adventure music,
Yeah.
that was actually found from doing a deep dive into old Republic serial film soundtracks. From back in the first half of the 20th century,
wow.
sort of 30s through 50s.
So it's kind of like lapsed copyright archives.
No, it wasn't. We licensed it.
okay.
We found
Yeah, we
it.
paid for that.
Yeah, we
Everyone
yeah.
got a taste.
Yeah, but it was really cool going back and digging into those archives and listening to all of this totally period appropriate stuff that would have actually been the sound of kind of an adventure film from the era in which the game's set.
Yeah, for sure. So like obviously this is a bit of a departure from, well, stylistically at least, from Firewatch.
Sure.
Like, I noticed you guys had like Ollie Moss had left, who was the art director on Firewatch. How did you find Claire Hummel, the new art director?
Claire, we found as fans of her work, not dissimilar to how I became friends with Ollie. Like, oh, I'm a fan of yours on the internet. You want to hang out and talk about working together? And it was literally that. She did some Hamilton fan art,
Okay.
and it was amazing. And a cursory digging into her background showed that like she wasn't just an awesome illustrator, but had game dev experience, was working on a VR title at the time for HBO, had done some design work, or visual design work on BioShock Infinite, had spent time at Microsoft first party, and we're like, you're just a unicorn, you know?
Yeah.
Like you don't find someone like that every day. And we kind of gave her the hard sell of coming to work at Campo, and she played it super cool. And I was like, oh, we're not going to get her. She's not going to come work. But
Almost too cool.
Almost too cool. We're like, I guess we just have to hire this other person. But inside, I guess she was trying to play it cool because she was a huge Firewatch fan. Like,
Okay.
She's super into national parks and
Yeah.
just the entire milieu of design around like the Americana of the outdoors. And
But also, basically an expert on ancient Egypt.
I was going to say,
I
yeah.
read about
the
this,
most
yeah.
ridiculous possible
Yeah.
confluence of interests in her personal and professional life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Claire
incredible.
Hummel was built in a laboratory to work at Campo
To work on
Santo
that game,
in
yeah.
2018.
To bridge
Yeah.
the gap between these
Yeah.
two games and then ship this one. Yeah, it's outrageous.
Yeah.
And I guess is Campo still quite a small studio?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
we've
quite-
not really grown really at all.
We added an animator named Mike, who I worked with at Telltale. Did a lot of the big character moments on The Walking Dead season 1,
Yep.
so he's legit. And who else did we add?
We added our
Producer
kind of
Sophie.
producer named Sophie, who I worked with at Irrational on BioShock Infinite, which Claire also worked on.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
Matt.
it's all just kind of
Wild.
connections and
Yeah.
people we've known for a long time kind of joining in, which is
And the main
super fun.
VFX specialist, he did a lot of the just sort of overall graphic presentation stuff of Virginia. This guy Matt Wild,
Yeah.
so another Unity title. So the team, we just sort of tried to look at what we thought we did well on Firewatch
Yep.
and go, okay, well, don't forget about that stuff. And don't take it for granted. But where do we want to improve from a design standpoint and the product itself, and then also the team? Like, where did we just struggle, even though you may not see it in the game, where did we feel a lot of pain trying to make Firewatch? We're like, oh, let's like address that, you know. So we disconnected a lot of our programming side from gameplay programming, and a lot of like the things we did about like hiring this new animator was kind of separating out that load between performance and just sort of feel, you know. And we're just kind of trying to like hit an ambition, but also keep the studio the way we want it to work in terms of the way everyone's workload and what they're responsible for. So a lot of the recruiting and growing of the team was around that. It was never like, we need to grow to 25 now because Firewatch sold X amount of copies or anything like that.
And after all that, we're still really only about a dozen people.
Yeah, about
so
12
it's
people.
we've barely grown since Firewatch.
Yeah.
Are you guys still working with Panic on the kind of publishing side, or is that just
Not
one
on
team
this
deal?
game. No,
Okay.
not on this game. Like we will forever work with Panic in some regard because they're
'Cause you
like,
use
we're very
Transmit.
close to them. We use Transmit. We have a like very close relationship with them.
Yeah.
But for now, we're doing this on our own.
Cool.
Yeah.
And it's a very different game. Like, I mean, just from experience playing Firewatch, it was open. Like, you could go to any of the locations in the forest.
Yeah.
This, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems more like it's a linear path just by the very nature, or is that a misassumption?
Well, I wouldn't say it's linear. I would not say it's a linear path, but
Okay.
we're definitely exploring different structures from Firewatch. I think in keeping with the kind of, earlier 20th century serial adventure story, like maybe draw bits from the kind of episodic nature of those sort of classic stories, but still in a way that we think will be allow the player to feel like they are exploring the world and expressing themselves and doing the, in Firewatch, as with this game, the story and the characters and the conversations and the situation of the world, those are all the most important thing. And so all of the gameplay also has to reflect all of those things. Like, there isn't a distinction between the cutscenes and the gameplay. It's all the same thing. And so trying to figure out, okay, well, for this game, how does the different setting, the different story, the different types of characters, how do those sort of, how do those stay in conversation with the core gameplay to still have it all be of a piece? And that's going to be different than Firewatch, but still, I think, going to be very like player-oriented and hopefully very natural.
Because it feels like it must be a huge challenge to have an actual character there.
Oh my God.
Like, I'm understating it a little bit.
We thought it was going to be a big challenge. It is like
It's so
way worse.
It's like having a kid or something. We're like, oh, this is going to change my life, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I did not think
So did
about
you start
all
out
this.
thinking, it's fine, she'll just hide behind a rock?
Yeah. Pardon?
You just hide behind a rock when you're not worried about her.
Yeah, she's got
It's like a companion cube.
It's like,
She can
just
hang
turn
are
out.
you
into
familiar
a-
with Creepy Watson?
No.
Creepy Watson.
There's this
I'll have to show
Sherlock
you
Holmes
later.
game
Okay.
was
where
brilliant.
the way that, so you played as Holmes, I guess, and then there was the Watson character, and the way that the Watson character moved was whenever you were not looking at the Watson character, the game would just quickly put him where he's supposed to be, so you'd look back around and suddenly he's right here. And
So it's
oh my
like
God.
Slender or some kind of like
Right.
horror game where he's just like.
But making this game gives me a lot of like sympathy for the Creepy Watson developers
God, yeah.
because it's like, oh God, if only we could just do that. It's having a character who feels like she's living and breathing and responding to you, but not just slavishly following you. I mean, is like has her own intentions and feels like she has interiority and all these other things that a person needs to have. It's really hard. I mean, we're making a lot of progress, and having worked on BioShock Infinite was sort of an interesting like kind of primer for dealing with a lot of these issues. But we are trying to take it as far as it can, go with what we're capable of doing, and it is difficult, but it's a super interesting challenge.
Yeah.
And she's not like a helper, and you're not her helper.
Yeah, I was kind of joking about that.
No. I think it's important to point out, though, because we talked a lot about that in the trailer. Just like things like, when they're setting up the camera at the end of the trailer, who's holding what and doing what we dissected at a very atomic level. Because we knew that if we got the balance of those things wrong, people were going to feel like, oh, well, I'm the helper, and she's the whatever,
We
or
made a
like,
big
oh,
course
she's
correction
my
on that.
she's my like whatever, like the donkey that carries all my stuff, and I just go be the hero. So once you have that set up as a dynamic, you then have all these design challenges because she can't just hide or like, hey, I found you this thing, or like, hey, I was out away from you and did this very helpful thing, because she has to go and be her own person who takes up space and has wants and desires that work in concert with yours, and because the game is really about their relationship as equals. But it's that making that decision on the page means we sign ourselves up in the design side for a myriad of problems that it's
Even just things like giving objectives for what is your next thing to complete. Like, you can't have it that she's always giving them to you because she knows everything the game knows, because that starts to feel like then she's basically just a quest log.
It's like a Cortana kind of thing.
Right, but
Exactly.
it can't be that just you do everything and she's like your sort of escort quest follower. Like, there has to be variety in how all that stuff is distributed. Like there have to be times where she's leading, times where you're leading. It just has to all feel like the way that an actual human relationship has push and pull and all those things.
And they have to be likable.
Right.
You have to, even when they're disagreeing or arguing or having conflict, you can't lose them. Like you have to feel, as your character is speaking, oh yeah, I'm connected to this person. And while the fiction of the story, the conflict in the story might mean that I'm in an argument with her right now, it can't be like, F you, well, we're done talking. No one wants to be in a fight like that. You know?
And we actually
did that one through in Firewatch.
We went through that in Firewatch,
Yeah.
and we actually rewrote a huge chunk of the game because we thought that would be a really interesting kind of dramatic moment, and it was in some ways, but it also kind of just like tamped out, closed everything down. Like it sort of turned off.
Yeah, I mean the argument part in Firewatch felt like one of the most interesting bits where they kind of seem at odds.
Yeah, no, I think we ended up in a good place.
Yeah, because there was a twist to that. Like we ended up we zigged where we should have zagged, and we had to go back and zag and cost ourselves a lot of time and money.
Always zag.
But yeah, where they have this fight, and then she's just like, well, we're not talking anymore. And we're like, oh, that'd be so different, because you'll just be alone out there.
Yeah.
Turns out the game sucks.
Yeah. And then we were even like, oh, we could spend like a third of the game in this like new alone status. And it was like,
so bad.
Just cut to black and white and silence. It'd be really dramatic.
Yeah, just like it became like the bicycle thief.
Just do like,
yeah.
you do the Nintendo thing where it's like, you've been playing this game far too long. Why not consider turning it off and exercising?
Yeah.
So last question I have to ask you guys. We are Unity. What do you like about working in Unity, and like how have you found it, like coming from
I thought you were
Firewatch to
going to
this
get us to say
game?
we are Unity.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be like we are Sparta. I am Sparta.
We are Unity.
It's not that weird.
Yeah, you want to jump on that, Chris?
Yeah, Unity, the really, really great thing about Unity, I think, I say this to people all the time, is that the whole tool set feels like it was designed by a single team, which seems like it would be obvious because it is, but that is not often how a lot of tools are. Often tools, you can feel the sort of
disparity
of like years and years of development and like adding things
and
on.
other games almost.
And exactly, all the different games that have been used to make it, whose kind of contributions have been like welded on to the branch and to the trunk. And it's, as someone who is, I have some facility with programming, but I'm definitely not an engineer. And it is so nice to work in an environment that is that consistently designed, so that when I do, go into C# or I do go into like to start bolting things on, I feel like, oh, okay, there is essentially an overall philosophy to how this thing was made, that even if something new is released in a point release, like I still basically understand how it fits into the whole, and that is like invaluable. That is so useful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We've also been able to just build on top of it a little bit in terms of some of our internal tools and it all feels, like I said, like homogeneous software. Even the stuff. I mean, that's a testament to
even when
Pete
you get stuff from
Ben,
the
for
asset
sure.
store.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The asset store has actually been is always a huge boon for us, because
sure.
people are like, oh, like you don't think of a developer like us using the asset store, at least especially for like art, but we buy stuff and just slot it in all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're like kit bashing the asset store. Like,
Well, I mean, asset store is kind of almost a misnomer, because certainly there are assets on it, but there's also just little tools and little things where you're like, this is just like, there's this $2 thing that just adds this button right here, and that's perfect for us. It's exactly what we need, and I'll just put it on there. I mean, it's just, there's stuff like that that's just so nice. It's just, I don't know. I mean, it's related to one of the things I was saying before. I mean, there's this other component which is just a lot of people use Unity. So if you don't know how to do something, or you don't have a given thing, you just
somebody
search on
around
Google for it, and probably someone has solved that problem. Which, like, not to be,
except when you search for it and there's no answer, you go,
then you're like, oh my god.
No.
Well, that's why
We're
you
way out here.
Oh no,
that's why
I'm
you
the
have
pioneer,
professional
right?
programmers.
Yeah, we're on the
That's why
vanguard. Ben, you got to do something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much
thanks
for
for
being
having
here.
us.
I'm
Cheers.
afraid
Yeah,
we
it's
do
a lot
have
of fun.
to let you
it's
go,
fine.
unfortunately.
I guess we'll
Absolute
leave.
pleasure to have you guys.
Thanks so much,
you.
guys.
Thanks for coming, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure. Well, we're doing do the reach this time? We're doing it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you both.
Thank you.
Next up on Unity Live at GDC, we're talking the Mixer SDK from Microsoft.
Hello and welcome back to Unity Live at GDC. We are joined by Gersh from Microsoft Mixer. Thank you for joining us. It's great to have you here.
How you doing?
Pleasure to be here.
Please tell us tell us about Mixer. What is Mixer?
Absolutely. Super excited to be here to talk to you about Mixer. So Mixer is a live streaming service from Microsoft with a twist. So the special thing that we have is, whereas kind of state-of-the-art live streaming services, even at the low end, it's 10 seconds of latency. So if you're like, wow, that was really cool, 360 no scope, chances are like the game's actually over and you're on the next match, and the broadcaster's like, what are you talking about? I'm in a lobby. So it just the sub-second near real-time latency, it just changes the game because it feels like we are right now, like we're just talking.
It's a relevant conversation.
That's right. That's right. And so the first time where you go on Mixer and then you hear, "Hey Gersh, how's your day?" You're just like, the TV is talking to me. Like, it's just crazy. So and of course that that kind of leads into sort of our mission to improve discoverability for games.
Okay, so that's like the main value prop with this. You know,
Yeah.
you want to be able to get people's games out there, and you want to help them build their audience. Is that accurate?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what we're all about at Mixer, and it comes to products or people, and myself, I'm a lead over on the Mixer team,
cool.
and myself and the rest of the folks who are on my team, we're actually, all of us got our start as indie game devs somewhere in the business. So in this very area in GDC, I won an IGF award, did a bunch of games, came to Microsoft after that, and then likewise, very similar story for the other people on the Mixer team. So back then it was all about making games, like making the games was the hard part. And now, thanks to Unity, making games is significantly easier than it was. And as a side effect of that, there's a whole lot more games, which is great. It's great to have a lot of awesome, good content, but now the challenge is how do you discover that content? And so that's what I'm focused on. That's what my team is super focused on right now.
Okay.
So how can Unity developers get started with using Mixer?
Great question.
Yeah.
So the first thing to do is we're actually on the asset store. So if you go to the asset store, you search for Mixer. We were the first result last time I checked, and so we're above the cement mixer model. So that's a good win for us.
Brilliant.
Exactly.
That cement mixer model guy is just changing it to Microsoft right now.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I mean, it's a battle, but you take your wins when you can. So here we are. Made it to the top. Made it to number 1. So just click that button, download it, and then we've worked so hard with kind of our new revamp of the SDK to make it super simple. For anybody, and not just devs, but we're targeting artists, producers, kind of non-technical roles, doing some drag and drop with some prefabs, and then can integrate interactivity into their game.
So have you got like a demo in that package, or like can someone see how to kind of pick it apart?
Great question. Yeah, so we're trying to add examples for everything that we see people come up with. So for instance, someone says, man, I really want to, when someone gives me some ammo, pop their name over their head or something like that. Yeah. So we'll go do a sample like how do you pop the name over the head of the ammo? Something, you guys are probably better with words, but like we sort of do that. So lots of examples were.
So you're continually adding to that asset store pack.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
And so I think we've got like a little example of how this looks for the player. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is an example of a game called Hyper Sentinel?
That's right.
Fantastic.
That's right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at that real quick.
Cool. Okay. So Hyper Sentinel, I love this game. This is a game, really great video. Honestly, the most fun I have had gaming or otherwise entertainment in my life. So
that is a bold claim.
It is, but this lives up to it. So it's super successful on Kickstarter, this game, and the buttons you're seeing here are actually the buttons that when someone's streaming the game, you'll see. So as viewers, like if I'm streaming, you'll see this button. You can spawn asteroids, try to kill me. You can even control this little mixeroid, is what they call it.
Okay.
Because the latency is so low, like you can actually come and attack me. So you can help me, you can hurt me. There's points on the top, so attackers and defenders, and so you're not just watching, you're actually playing a game. Like you were all playing. Yeah, and this whole thing, without Mixer, the level's empty. But then once the viewers start trickling in, that's when they actually create the level. So every time you play, it's different based on whatever, if you're feeling like trolling me, we'll have a very different experience. Which is more fun, honestly, than the other thing. But
so go on.
No, it's fine.
No, I'm just curious as to how that works. So you're slowly sort of, you'd effectively start going to a game, create a lobby, and then you're effectively, the more people pile in, the more interesting it gets. Is that right? Like,
Absolutely, yeah.
okay.
So one of the things I love about this game, and this goes to all the folks who want to do Mixer, is you got to think about game balance, and Hyper Sentinel really thought about game balance, and so they put you into groups, attackers, defenders, and they keep it roughly at a 50-50 so that you can't have too many attackers or too many defenders.
Yeah.
And then they also do things just like with a real level where if you want to spawn an enemy, the lower level enemies are easier to spawn initially, and then as the level progresses, you can unlock like some of the more powerful enemies, kill the player. Likewise, on the player side, you can spawn some of the some like invincibility, things like that, but it's limited. So as chat, as viewers, do you wait for later when you know it's going to get harder, or do you spend it now? So those are all interesting design decisions and thought and things that you get to think about as the audience.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts because I think like, you think about TV or you think even just things like YouTube where you're straight watching a video, you're watching a stream, like audience participation isn't big. Like there hasn't been any kind of innovation in that area. Like think of things like, I don't know, American Idol or something like that.
That's right.
Just voting-based systems.
That's right.
With this, you've got like, I guess you can kind of do pretty much anything you want.
Yeah, it really blurs the lines between playing and watching, and it's one of the things where at Mixer, we're fortunate enough to kind of be paving the trail. But like, if you go watch GDC and watch some of the announcements and watch just what's going on in this space, there will be a time where you'll watch whether it's some linear content or YouTube, and then you'll turn and you'll say, but how come I can't?
Yeah.
Why is it not? Nothing's happening. I'm clicking the video, nothing's happening. So
it's like when you give the little kids a Game Boy and they're just tapping the screen, like, what?
Exactly. Yeah, they're like, it's broken.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to think about, actually. So there'll be some people that will go out there and create a game with Mixer in mind.
Yeah.
But people who've got existing games, can they now download Mixer and say, it'd be cool if I had this, and then just keep iterating on that content and adding it?
Absolutely.
That's really exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I love about Hyper Sentinel, because they had a full game ready to go, ready to ship.
Oh, okay. It wasn't made for this.
It wasn't made for Mixer.
No, it actually was not made for Mixer, although doesn't it look like it is. But a lot of this is, if you think about the games that you're building, it's you probably have a debug hook that says spawn enemy, or right? Or help plus. I mean, we all do, right?
Why not throw that open to the internet? Yeah, great idea.
Yeah, it turns out, like great examples like Goat Simulator. If you played that game, is basically a collection of bugs, right?
Yeah.
So, but thrown in a game, and it's super entertaining.
It's true. That's so cool. And people, sorry.
No, sorry, I was just thinking out loud. I don't know if it would be better to play it with friends or people you don't know, because like your friends know your weaknesses, right? And they'd just be like, do it, like
Exactly. It's a different game, So like if you play with your friends, it depends on how they're feeling. I mean, they can. It depends on your relationship.
Could destroy
I was going to
you.
say, like, you learn a lot about your friendships, I think, after you play Hyper Sentinel.
That's going to be on the back of the box.
Yeah, learn a lot about friendship.
Yeah.
That's weird. So if people are here at GDC and want to come and talk to you guys about Mixer, do you have like a space or a booth they can come meet you?
Absolutely, yeah. So we're very easy to find. We're right outside of the main expo hall, so you kind of can't miss us. And we really, really want to talk to people.
Yeah.
So like I said, our mission, what we're all about is we came from that space, the indie game dev space. We know how hard it is every single day to try to get discovered. And so if there's anything that I can do to go help your game to get discovered, then I want to do that. And then experiences like this, to be honest, they kind of market themselves, because they're fairly novel. But even so, we kind of do a little bit extra to make
outreach.
sure, to make sure to kind of amplify what the game developer is doing. So definitely hit us up at our booth. We've got a talk as well that I'll be giving. And then finally, for people watching online, Mixer dev info at Microsoft.com. So that's Mixer dev info at Microsoft.com. And please, please, please just let us know like what you're doing. If you're doing something cool, I personally want to hear about it, so that we can go make a big deal out of it.
Dude,
Amazing.
Gersh, that's awesome. Thanks so much for coming.
It's really
and
lovely
telling us
to
about
meet you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Cool. Elizabeth, that's our show.
Is it done?
It's done.
Is that it?
That was it.
I wanted more.
I wanted more. And I hope you wanted more as well. So that was Unity Live at GDC. We hope you had a really good time with us. I did. Did you have a good time?
I was speaking for you as well.
Oh, thanks. If you're still with us at the show, don't forget that we have the Unity Mix at the Moscone. We have Unity Central, our office, open house on 33rd Street. And of course, we have the Hotel Zeta Lounge as well, where you can come and hang out with us and chat. Failing that, obviously, rewatch all of the content from Unity Live at GDC on our YouTube channel. And of course, you can come and see us at Unite, our next big event in Berlin.
That's going to be great.
Yes,
Really looking
yes,
forward
it
to
will.
that.
Check out all the news about that on our events site. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Don't forget, we also have our developer day as well, and all of this stuff, all of these events that we do. Unity3D.com/events is where you'll find all of this stuff. And we're looking forward to meeting you there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. See ya.